Hey guys, my name is Gabe, and for the next month, I'm going to be watching one movie every single day. Welcome to day 6 of my month of movies. Today, I watched a documentary film called It All Begins with a Song. This seems kind of random when thrown into the mix of the films that I've been watching, but it was because I was up at my lake house with my parents, and it was kind of a rainy day. So we sat down and my dad threw on this film. We just sat down and we all watched it together, which is something I haven't done in a while. Being away from my family in college, I'm not able to sit down and watch movies with them all the time, which is something we used to do. So it was so nice to be able to sit down and all watch something together as a family. And it actually turns out, I haven't talked about this much, but I'm studying film part-time right now in college, and for my senior thesis, I'm actually making a documentary film about my guitar teacher and mentor. It's going to be my second solo project for film. I've already done a few of the shoots. I've written some of the script and treatment, but this film was about the songwriters behind a lot of the most famous country songs, specifically in Nashville. And so I got a lot of inspiration watching this for the project that I'm working on right now, just in terms of the style of the interviews and the way that the shots were set up and some of the topics that they talked about. There's a lot of good stuff in there that really pertains to the project I'm working on currently. I have to say I'm not the biggest country music fan, neither is anyone else in my family, but the film kind of gave me a different appreciation for some of the country music that is coming out of Nashville. It kind of painted the image of artists in Nashville that kind of go unnoticed and unrecognized on a regular basis, and they're really some of the most creative people in the world, and they're sitting, working waitress jobs and trying to make ends meet while they're playing in bars on the side to a handful of people. But a lot of the music that they're producing is top tier, like some of the best music, and it's really about the writers behind the music that we all know. And so these artists were playing some of the most famous country songs that we've all heard from all kinds of bands like Rascal Flatts and Chris Stapleton. I'm trying to think of, I don't even know that many country artists, Blake Shelton, but basically every big country artist that you've ever heard, Johnny Cash, and then even some artists like John Legend, Rihanna, Kesha. So some really big name artists that these writers would write songs for. It was really just kind of inspiring to see, and the way that the shots were set up, it seemed like each interview was in a new spot. Like each person they probably interviewed 2 or 3 times, and set up in studios and in their homes, and I just really liked the way it was framed. Most of them seemed like 2-camera shoots as well, to kind of give a different impression of the artist. Some of them were really ultra close-up shots so that you can see the emotions on their face. The coolest thing to me was when it showed them playing their music. There was a bit where it showed this artist pulling topics out of a hat and literally just within like 20 or 30 minutes creating it into a song. And it showed him like sitting down and fiddling with the guitar and kind of thinking out loud of what he wants to write about. So it was really cool to see that process. And the theme of the movie gets down to what I want to explore in my project, which is that for an artist to create art is inevitable. It's inherent. And even if they're not getting paid for it, even if they're losing money on it and putting their livelihood at risk, it is a necessary thing. Like, you need to create art as an artist. It's your way of expressing yourself in the world. So it's a theme I want to explore, and I think the film does it beautifully. And again, for someone that doesn't really love country music that much, it made me just appreciate art and the passion that goes into the songwriting process. And there's one scene in particular where it was the 2 artists that wrote the song I Drive Your Truck, and I forgot who the recording artist is on that, but the song is called I Drive Your Truck, which is about a dad who lost his son in the war in Afghanistan, and his way of mourning and remembering his son is by driving his truck, and the song kind of talks about that, and it talks about the truck. It turns out the writer of the song had heard this interview on NPR while she was driving of the dad talking about trying to advocate for putting a petition in place to get flags on all the graves of the veterans in the area that he lived. And so she heard that, and then he was talking about driving his son's truck, and she was just inspired to write this song, but had never actually met this guy. And so they're talking about their creative process going into the writing of the song, and then they actually go to the old man's house that the song is written about and surprise him. And it is so raw and emotional. And I didn't expect that in the film. It was kind of like a curveball for me, but definitely watching it, like, it made me kind of get that feeling of tightness up in my throat, and my eyes were kind of welling up with tears, and my chest was hurting. I was just like, oh man, just fighting back the tears. I wasn't about to start bawling some crocodile tears in front of my mom and my dad and my grandma, but I was pretty close. It was so sad and just so emotional. And then they sang the song to him, and it showed him like singing along with them and just talking about how much the song means to him. And it was just the saddest, most meaningful thing. So overall, I really love this documentary, and I know it's like totally out of left field when thrown in the mix of the movies I've been watching. It's like totally not in line with anything else that I've been consuming lately, but I really did love it, and I love the experience of sitting down with my family to watch this film, which is something I don't get to do that much anymore. Rating it standalone, not in comparison to anything else, honestly, I'd give it like an 8 or 9 out of 10 because it was so well produced, and the filmmaking on it was just top tier. So I know it's not like a narrative film. It can't really be like compared to some of the films that I've been watching, but I really did love it. And I do apologize for being sniffly and kind of red in the nose and the eyes. I've been coming down with some sort of cold or something since I moved in. It happens every year when I move into my new place on campus. I think it's just something about the dust in the rooms and the change in air. So I don't know, but I do apologize for being sniffly. But yeah, that was It All Begins With a Song. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll check back tomorrow on day 7.